Over the past 100 years, women have pursued the company of other women. Speakeasies, apartment parties, lesbian separatist lounges, and queer dance nights. Lesbian socializing became limited to the parties and gatherings in private homes that I named above. Women unaccompanied by men at this time were seen or labeled as prostitutes and were often turned away from being provided services. Gay bars in major cities such as Baltimore, Chicago, and New York that catered to the white working class began to have dyke bars emerge. Harlem in particular was a destination for wild nightlife among the homosexual. Cozy quarters for women who enlisted as nurses or the women in the armed auxiliary forces found it a comfortable place and environment to truly experience and engage in their sexuality. Especially because in these times homosexuality was a crime. Women who wore men's clothes or vice versa were fined and sometimes even taken into prison. It was illegal at the time for bars to serve gay men or women. This was the emergence of dyke bars. Ironically, in the early 1930s, it was the mob who gave homosexuals a place to mingle and be free by running an underground bar. Later, when the subject was touched upon, the mob admitted they had no interest in homosexuality, but the money that can come from it, especially because they controlled Manhattan's West Side, now known as the Village. In the early 1960s, while homosexuality was now legal in the state of New York, many establishments who served alcohol to the gay customers were considered to be disorderly houses. Many of these establishments who were issued liquor license were often raided by the police and slapped with fines for indecent conduct. In 1966, Tony Lauria purchased the Stonewall Inn. At that time, it was a low-earning straight bar and restaurant. He took it over and renovated it at a low cost and reopened the club as a gay bar. He was in control of everything, from the jukebox to the cigarettes. He often bribed the police precinct with around $1,200 a month to turn a blind eye to the goings-on in his clubs. The Stonewall Inn catered to an assortment of patrons. It was known to be popular amongst the poorest and most marginalized people in the gay community. Drag queens, transgender people, effeminate young men, butch lesbians, and even male prostitutes found the Stonewall Inn as home. At this time, Stonewall employees would usually be tipped if a raid was going to occur that night, but on this specific night, no tip was given to them. Everyone was shocked. A typical raid usually had a strict procedure. Patrons lined up, got their identification checked, and a female officer would take any person dressed in women's clothes into the bathroom to verify their sex. On this specific night, women refused to go with the officers. Men refused to produce their identification, and police began to use force. The original plan of the raid was to transport the bar's bootlegged alcohol into patrol wagons and down to the station. However, after 15 minutes, the wagons had still not arrived yet. Those who were not arrested were released out the front door, and usually everyone had scattered. But today, after a couple of minutes, a congregation began to build outside. The Stonewall riots lasted 6 nights, and the brutality between the police and the patrons never ended. However, the issue of sexual liberation catapulted out of the Dark Ages and into a new era. This was a new beginning for the LGBT community. To this day, the LGBT community around the globe commemorates that historic point at the Stonewall Inn where they fought for their rights. Today we know it as the Pride Parade. It is a weekend where the lesbian, the gay, bisexual, and transgender person can come out and be free. Dyke bars, though still around, are no longer a place of refuge, but now a place of fun.